I'm Basia Sokolowska, taking you through my creative alphabet. This is actually the last video of the 50 short videos where I talk about my art practice, the inspirations, places, methods, ideas that contribute to my art making and create the environment in which I work. This video is about writing. W stands for writing, and it's a very appropriate subject for the final episode of the series, because the whole series was organized around the glossary of terms which I wrote and which was published for my Homage exhibition. The entries in the glossary, they refer to the Homage exhibition as well as my art practice and my thinking about art beyond that. So this was actually a very useful guide to my art, and also provoked making of the series in which I expand on the short entries in the Homage catalogue. Writing has been my companion since school. When I was 11, I started to keep a journal. I talk about it in an earlier episode of my creative alphabet. And it was a very sort of natural and spontaneous thing to do, to start writing about my life and myself. And it came very easily to me. There are other kinds of writings that I've done. I wrote art reviews, and I wrote a couple of film scripts. But the most difficult kind of writing has always been writing about my own art. And this is something that all artists have to do at some point for exhibition catalogues or promotional information or for curators or websites and so on. And it's always felt very, very uncomfortable. I always felt that my art is enough in terms of explaining what it's about, which isn't the case, because it's not a very obvious thing. My images are quite mysterious, and they don't necessarily fit in with what's done in art, with art trends and art currents. So quite often the public doesn't know where to place them and feels a little bit lost without some kind of help in the form of a text. But I always felt that the way artists write about their art doesn't really agree with the way I would like to do that. There is a very specific way of writing about contemporary art projects, and it's sort of a language which is used by artists and curators and art critics, and I found that I didn't really want to use that, because it's not what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to kind of find myself in the whole sort of establishment. So I wrote, when I was asked to write some short texts about my art, I did that with a sense of discomfort, feeling that I didn't really have the language that would be satisfactory for me to do that. Because what I really wanted to do was not explain what I was doing. I didn't want to make it fit in with the whole kind of contemporary art scenario. I didn't want to spoil it in a sense that would deprive the viewer of the very personal and direct experience and their own reading and interpretation of the work. I didn't want to suggest my own. And I think that this glossary was really the first time where I could do what felt right. I found a language to talk about my art. I found a way of providing that context and that information satisfy the curiosity of the person looking at my works of art, thinking about perhaps how it was done or why I did that or where it was done and all that, without taking away from the essence of the artwork. And I did that in the form of a glossary, and I did that in short entries. And when I wrote them, it took me a while to actually come up with the way of writing them that would feel kind of true and comfortable. And I wrote them as if I was talking to someone, as if I was telling someone who's looking at my art more information that would be both interesting and insightful. So when I did that, I was actually quite happy with this glossary, and I felt, well, this is the first time when my text about my art is what it should be. So I hope that these videos that follow the glossary and follow the short entries, they expand on them and they are informative and insightful. When I was writing the entries for the glossary, I didn't think about making videos expanding on them. That thought came half a year after, or even longer after the glossary was published and the exhibition, the Homage exhibition, ended. But I thought it would be actually quite good to provide more information rather than short entries on the same subjects that kind of surround my practice. So thank you for being with me through this series. It took me almost a year to make these videos. They were made on Sundays or Saturdays, and I hope that you will find something interesting for yourself, something interesting, inspiring for your own experience of making art or looking at art.